Well, welcome everybody. This is huge. I love to see this crowd here today for Annie. So whether you know Annie personally or you were just intrigued by her story, you're going to get to learn a lot more either way today. So this is wonderful. My name is Amy Hutchins, and I'm the program manager for the Iowa Women's Business Center. Has anyone here, I recognize some faces, but who has not engaged with Iowa Center before? A lot of new faces. We do have some forms on the table that just sort of help us capture some of your information so that we can continue to bring programming like this to you. So that would be wonderful if you could complete those forms before you leave today. A quick overview on Iowa Center for Economic Success, and then I'm going to introduce Christina Moffett from the Des Moines Partnership, and then we're going to get going and jump into our interview with Annie. But the Iowa Center for Economic Success is the local nonprofit here in town, and our mission is to ultimately help all of you achieve financial success, typically through the channel of entrepreneurship. We have 4 programs under Iowa Center for Economic Success, and the Women's Business Center is one of them. And through the Women's Business Center, our mission is to bring education and resources to the community for all of you looking to start a business, looking to grow your business. We have wonderful resource partners in town that also help us achieve these goals, one being the Des Moines Partnership. We offer programming from how to start your business plan, how to augment your business plan. We have a course called Dream Builders. I see some graduates here. So anyone interested in engaging in that Dream Builder program, our next one starts in February, and there's a flyer on the table. We also have topical sessions every other Tuesday. And what we do is watch the trends that are happening in the small business community, and those are the topics that we bring to you. There is not a flyer. I brought the wrong one. On December 18th from 5 to 6 p.m., if anyone knows Doreen McVeigh, she is owner and founder of iThrive 31, and she is going to be leading a session on living intentionally, how to make this your best year yet. So we thought that would be a great way to sort of end 2018 and start 2019. Once we get into January, our programming's not up yet, but we have a couple sessions in January 1 on target audience research. So as a small business owner, how can you get to know your audience better, and how can you do that on a smaller budget? And then we'll also have a session on profit versus nonprofit for those of you that might be considering which avenue your business should ultimately be set up in. So just a sampling of some of the type of programming that we offer there. We also, another program through the Iowa Center is our tax program. So we do free tax prep and planning all year round. So tax season is approaching. If any of you are in need of some free support in that area, you can come to us. We also carry the microloan program for the Iowa Economic Development Authority. So we are here to help financially support those looking to start or grow their business. We can grant up to $30,000. I shouldn't say grant, it is a loan, up to $30,000 for those just starting out, and up to $50,000 for those that have been in business six months or longer. And then last but not least, our 4th program is Fin Capital. So we're the only all-female angel investment network in the state of Iowa. So think Shark Tank. That's a little bit about the Iowa Center. Take some of our catalogs. We would love to engage with you if we haven't had the opportunity to do so yet. So very quickly, I am going to, well, not you. I'm not saying talk for 30 seconds and be gone, but I will quickly introduce Christina Moffett from the Des Moines Partnership.
Yeah, thanks for coming, guys. The partnership has just been overwhelmed to be able to do this series with the Women's Business Center. My background is I am a female entrepreneur here in town. I'm very passionate about female entrepreneurs and entrepreneurs in general. And when I came to the partnership, I knew that they were trying to get this program kind of off and running. And I said, hey, can we partner with you on this? And can we actually simulcast it and record it so that people can actually have those stories online to live on? So Mike always comes and helps us out and records these so that they will live on and the stories can be heard over and over again. I am the director of small business resources, so I work hand in hand with a lot of the other resources here in town. The Greater Des Moines Partnership is a regional chamber, so we actually have 24 affiliate chambers covering 8 counties and 6,400 members out of this organization here. And that's what we do. We serve business here and the Greater Des Moines area, and I focus on programming as well here at the partnership, listening to what our other organizations might not be able to handle, pitching things back to them on what we think that they could help with, and it's just been a really good fit. I've been here almost 2 years. The one program I want to mention that's coming up for us, it's called Meet the Buyers. So if you have ever wanted to learn how to sell to the big organizations here in town, it will take place on February 5th. We are hosting it in tandem with the Targeted Small Business Program. So if you are a targeted small business or you are a member of the partnership, please join us on February 5th. It's limited to 70 seats, but we have everything from banking, insurance, casinos, Hy-Vee. We have everybody coming from these large organizations to explain to you how to sell to them and what they're actually looking for. So it'd be very beneficial. It's a half-day program. So welcome to the partnership. We're happy to have you here. I'm going to kick it back off because Annie's amazing, and I don't want to steal the thunder. I want you to learn from her and her journey. So Amy, take it away.
Okay. Well, I am so thrilled to have Annie here today. I met Annie for the first time. It's been about a year ago. I had joined the advisory council for the Iowa Women's Business Center, which Annie sits on. And over the course of the next year, I've just gotten a chance to know her a little bit better, and such a kind heart and kind soul, and so much to offer. So I am excited to kick off our interview with Annie.
Well, thank you for having me.
Oh,
I'm really excited. I'm so excited. The Iowa Center is like one of my favorite things about Des Moines. So I feel really honored to be here and to hang out. I mean, it's part of my business growth, so let's all get together and talk a little bit.
All right, we'll talk about your business.
Okay.
Maybe just explain for those in the room that might not be that familiar with you, what do you do?
Okay, so I am a life and business coach for entrepreneurs. I'm originally from the Dominican Republic, so I'm also an immigrant. It's really has been quite the experience to balance entrepreneurship, immigration, and learning what those things mean in the context of my life. And the Iowa Center has been amazing at helping me figure those things out. So pretty much what I do is helping people get out of their own way and battle or conquer their limiting beliefs and live an authentic life, whatever that looks like for them. Define success and achieve success. So,
Good overview. So that's sort of, you hinted a little bit at your story there, especially being from the Dominican. Talk a little bit about your time there, because this wasn't your first tiptoe into the world of entrepreneurship.
So I have probably always been an entrepreneur in the sense that my parents are entrepreneurs. So I didn't grow up seeing a regular corporate life in my house. My mom was always there with us. My dad had crazy hours, but he was very much in charge of his work. So I remember that when I finished school, so I went to school for film, let me tell you. And like most people that go to school for film, I do nothing that has to do with film. So when I went to school in New York, when I came back to Santo Domingo, where I'm from, one of my friend's parents wanted to write a book. And she's like, I heard you like writing. Would you like to write it for me? So my first entrepreneurial endeavor was as a ghostwriter. And that actually became a thing. I didn't know anybody else that did it back home. And I started doing that for screenplays, for books, articles. Then that turned into translation, which then turned into interpretation. Then I found a passion for yoga, and I started teaching yoga. And I've always loved photography, and I started doing photography. So pretty much all of my life, if I've ever felt passionate about something, I found a way to make money out of it. That has been kind of like my pattern. I dive headfirst into it, and then so it happens. So when I started, the coaching thing, though, happened to me. It was something that I definitely didn't pursue. It was something that, honestly, I was not interested in, because I used to believe that I was not good at dealing with people. So when I was 24 years old, 24, like many stories start, I had my heart broken.
It's the typical age, too.
Yes. So there was a terrible breakup, and I decided I need to get my shit together. So I'm like, okay, so what am I gonna do? At that time, I was teaching yoga, I was interpreting, I was doing all of the things, and a friend of mine came over to me with the opportunity to join a leadership program that she had done before, and pretty much me try to use that leadership in my own life. The thing is that when that trainer came out, that first day, I'm talking about like a 5 foot nothing lady, and she was just so powerful. She walked out, and I was like, oh, that's what I want to do. that makes sense. Like, she talks and people do what she says. Always what I wanted to do in my life.
Does that still work for you?
Yes, hence the coaching thing. But my vision when I started was not to be a coach. I wanted to do that. I wanted to be a leadership trainer, get out there, be done with my day, and then go home. And coaching just happened to be one of the tools that I used. So back home, before I moved here, I was doing leadership training for teenagers, and which are, let me tell you, the most challenging crowd you will ever have. So yeah, and that's.
So so you saw this woman, you said that's what I want to do,
Yep.
but then how did you do it? How did you actually get there?
Okay, so when I saw her, I pretty much said, this is what I want to do. I graduated, it's a 3-month program, and once we were done, I told her, I want you to train me. I want you to teach me how is it that you want to do it. But how is it that you do what you do? And she's like, yeah, but it's kind of like not profitable for me to train just you because my time, I totally understand that now.
Now, right?
Back then I was like, bitch. I mean, like, what do you mean?
Do me a favor.
And she's like, yeah, like it has to become an academy in a way, like if you can recruit more people to do it, if you can get 10 people to do it, I'll train you. I got 20. So I convinced 19 other crazy people to join in with me. And
to all get certified in training?
we all got certified in training. It was one of the most excruciating experiences of my life. I thought that I was gonna be trained on how to public speak, and then I was getting feedback on everything else in my life, which is super awesome. There's a phrase that they used a lot because pretty much they're correcting you. And it was, what's not working for me about you right now is, I did not know that feedback could give you a migraine. Literally every time I walked into the room, one of my friends would bring out like a box of Tylenol, and she was like, you got this. It was bad, but still one of the most enriching experiences that I've ever had. And with that training certification came the coaching certification as part of the programming.
So not to bring up bad memories per se, because you said you learned a lot, but when you think back to that, do you recall one of the things that maybe was pointed out to you that you hadn't dealt with before or recognized before?
Okay, so remember when I told you just right now that I used to believe that I was not good with people? I was not wrong. I literally sucked at dealing with humans. Pretty much the feedback that I got, and it was one time one of the trainers got up, he was so angry at me because of the way that I was handling myself. He's like, this is what I see. This is how you walk around in life. You look like you don't give crap about anyone. And at that moment, what my brain was processing was like, well, you're not wrong. But
maybe this coaching thing isn't for me.
maybe it's not for me. But after I sat with it, because it was very combative and it was a very the confrontation at that moment was really rough for me. Once I sat with it, I was like, but that's not true. It's not like I wouldn't be here if I really didn't care about people. So that started a moment of transformation in my life in which I started seeing what were the barriers for me. So my struggle with vulnerability, the whole idea that if I really cared about people, I would get hurt, and how asking for help made me weak, and all of that crap that I have believed for so many years. I am an Army brat, so I mean, I was raised with that mentality of actually, this is just caveat. My dad once wrote me a letter telling me, I treat you the way I treat you, the training is so hard so that war would seem like a game. That was the philosophy of how I was raised. And that filtered into my relationships, and that filtered into my work. And it made me miserable. I mean, at the point when I started this training, I was dead broke. I was depressed. I was alone, because when you live in shame and you are so scared of vulnerability, you isolate yourself because you don't want anybody to see you in your crap. So that moment when somebody told me, you just don't seem like you care, that was the moment when I had to ask myself, is this what I want for my life? Or is this the quality of life that I want in a moment in which everybody I touch feels like they're scared to talk to me? Because that was also feedback that I got. We were like, Annie, I mean, you're so good with us, but still I cannot approach you. So that was life-changing.
That is. So did you then start coaching in the Dominican?
I started training in the Dominican. I was definitely not ready to do one-on-one coaching. I think that coaching is something that you need to be ready for because you source the growth of your clients. It would be, for me, one of my biggest challenges has always been relationships. Romantic relationships in general is something that or in particular, something that I've always struggled with. So it would be very hard for me to train anyone or coach anyone on romantic relationships. So at the moment when I started training, I was very proficient at the material, I was very proficient at the experiential work, but I still had a lot of growth to do. And that growth definitely happened in the transition of moving to Iowa.
Okay, so you're in Iowa.
I'm in Iowa.
Talk about your transition from the Dominican here and then ultimately launching your coaching career.
Well, I look at the weather every day and I compared it.
And yet you still came.
Like I wake up. So I came to Iowa in March 2016.
So not that long ago.
Not that long ago. So it pretty much took me about 6 months to start my business.
Which is not a lot of time.
No. And it wasn't, I will say it might have not been the smartest. I'll admit it now. But you live and you learn, and it has been great so far. But what happened was that at the beginning, I was not able to work legally. So while my papers were being processed, I pretty much started calling out my friends. And they're like, hey, do you need a coach? I have the certification thingy. I might be able to do something for you. And that's how it started. I started with one of my friends, charging $25 an hour. Seeing her results. And then the biggest thing that I did was venture. I think Iowa has made me braver and more vulnerable because by not knowing anybody, I forced myself to meet everybody. So the decision that I had to make was, am I gonna lock myself up or I'm gonna go out there and meet people? And I started going into Facebook groups, I started going to events, I started meeting people, and little by little, people started connecting to my story, getting that vulnerable and letting people know, like, hey, this is where I come from, not the DR, but this is the place where I used to be. So I found the Iowa Center so I started my business December 2016. I found the Iowa Center in January, went through Dream Builder. It's been a whirlwind. And it has also been wonderful because by starting my business so quick, I've made a lot of mistakes. And my business is definitely not what it used to be at the beginning. The vision is not the same. The people that I help are not the same. So I've learned a lot about who I am and by extension, what my business is.
So you called yourself, and we're going to talk about some of those mistakes because I think people like to hear them and learn from them, but you have called yourself a recovering perfectionist. Talk a bit about that and what you mean by that and how you infuse it into your life today.
Okay, so pretty much I am a recovering perfectionist. I own that in the sense that perfectionism is my disease. That's how I like to view it. And when I say perfectionism, I don't mean, attention to detail, OCD, wanting everything to be perfect. No, I'm totally the opposite. I'm pretty much not an attention to details kind of person, but I was enslaved by the idea of how others perceived me. I wanted others to see me as perfect, and that hijacked my whole life. So many things that I never did because I never thought that it was gonna be good enough when I did it. The idea that you're not good enough pretty much just robbed me of so many opportunities and so many experiences. So now, when I work with my clients, that's my approach. We're recovering from shame. We're recovering from perfectionism. The idea that I'm not good enough and that nothing else is good enough, and starting to live in the present. So my programs and my one-on-one coaching takes on, you are good enough, but more importantly, it's not because I say so, but you get to discover it, because I got to discover it. But the thing about the word recovering and how it sounds is that I know this is something that I'm gonna be working on for the rest of my life. When I think about where I was, and again, the loneliness and the emptiness, I am very aware that I can go back to that at any moment. I am very aware that if I don't do the work every day, if I don't take the steps every day to take care of myself, I am very easily going to go back to that because that's comfort. It's like any other addiction. It's like alcohol, it's like drugs, it's like food. It's like spending money. Where you feel comfortable, that's where you go back to. And my whole philosophy is expanding that comfort zone and getting really honest with yourself and creating a community that's gonna hold you accountable for it. So yeah, when I say I'm a recovering perfectionist, what I mean is I struggle with perfectionism, and I know I'm gonna struggle for a long time, but I have discovered tools, and I apply tools and help people apply tools that will allow them to live a more fulfilled life.
So you talk about getting outside of your comfort zone, and because so many of us in the room have been in this position, when you look to start a business or start your venture into entrepreneurship, there's a lot of uncertainty there. Mm-hmm. And you mentioned to me that eventually you figured out how to manage that uncertainty with proactivity. So what are some of those examples where you had these moments like, oh my gosh, I really don't know what I'm doing here, and what you did to overcome that?
Research, hence how you end up at the Iowa Center. I am an avid student, but I am aware that research can also turn into a rabbit hole, right? So finding somebody to hold me accountable, either a buddy, either a coach. I have 2 coaches. Finding a community of people that can really surround you with tools, and also creating a structure for yourself that works for you, because that's very important. I love the title of Tony Robbins's documentary, I'm Not Your Guru. I don't believe in gurus. You're gonna find whatever the hell works for you. So for me, productivity has meant networking incessantly. It has meant also resting. So productivity, because I need to, fill up my cup. And it has meant putting things out there even when I think they're freaking insane and I'm scared that people are gonna hate it. And trust me, people have hated it. I have gotten emails with people just calling me some wonderful, wonderful names because of what I stand for. But, it's trial and error.
How do you approach something like that if you get one of those emails?
So
I get worked up.
I get really angry. So this is the thing. Because of perfectionism, my default is judgment. And I think when we are a judgmental species, because it keeps us alive. But that has also been part of what I've been working on. So in previous years, maybe I would have replied that where this is what's wrong with you if you don't get what I have to say. Whereas now I just send light to people, reply with an email and say, like, I'm glad that you're in another place in your life. I'm glad that you have been finding fulfillment in other ideas, and I wish you the best. And hopefully when we cross paths, things are gonna be awesome and we will be able to hug it out. I'm a hugger. So I make people uncomfortable a lot in Iowa.
Because do you hold the hug too long? Is that the...
No, people just don't expect it. I go in and like, wow. So yeah, just sending a lot of light, even when it's hard, because that precisely is the thing that I'm the most scared of, which is rejection,
Well, talk a little bit about this transition, not just to America, but to Iowa, and a little bit about your perspective on this Iowa nice mentality that we all have grown up with for the most part.
Okay, so let me tell you something. I love you all, but it's been rough. It's been rough because first off, I went to school in New York. So everyone's Dominican in New York, pretty much. That's what you get out of it. There's at least 1 million of us. So I come to Iowa and I learned that I have an accent. I had no idea I had an accent until I arrived here. Because everyone has an accent in New York. Like everybody makes an active effort to try to understand you because they are expecting diversity. Because of the lack of diversity here, people are not wired to shift for you. So the experience of an immigrant is that we have to shift, we have to mold ourselves, we have to become in order to, that's the initial experience. Afterwards, after the good 6 to 7 months, I was like, you know what? you're gonna have to get what you get at this point, because I don't think I'm gonna be able to pronounce my vowels. I mean, it's not gonna work. English is hard. So, so my experience of Iowa is that on the not so great side, it's hard to make friends, because if you're a local, you already have your friends and you don't want any more. So the bulk of my friends here are transplants, because we band together. But on the good side is that regardless of where you stand in your closeness to your locals, Des Moines is a wonderful place to do business. It's so welcoming to entrepreneurs. My networking experience here has been fabulous, because people want to hear your ideas. People want to collaborate with you. And when you enter a room full of people that are smiling genuinely, which I don't have in the Dominican Republic, networking is not a thing. I felt like crying. I was like, oh my God. So it's like taking the good side of that. It's like, I know that regardless of me not being lifelong friends with the people in this room, if I see you down the street, we're probably gonna hug it out. And that is part of the Iowa nice, to contrast the also not so nice.
You made mention, and this was eye-opening to me. I'm originally from the East Coast and have been here for a long time, though. And you said one thing that struck you here, and it probably is helpful for your coaching business, is that for folks that have, for the most part, been born and raised here, everything's fine.
Yeah, everything's okay. You ask everything's good. Is it really though? Is it true that everything is fine? And that has been really a big part of my coaching practice, like you mentioned, because it's acknowledging that not everything is fine, but what are you going to do about it? You know? What do we do when we say, like, what do you do with the information when you ask somebody genuinely, how are you doing? Oh, everything's okay. When it's not. It negates our human experience. Mm-hmm. It negates the opportunity to help each other out when we do not acknowledge what's going on around us and within us. And I don't think it's necessarily exclusive to Iowa, because the Midwest is pretty large, but I think that there is great opportunity for us to get realer, if that is a word, I don't know.
Coin it.
Perfect. Hashtag realer. There's an opportunity for us to really go deep and stop having superficial conversations and stop having conversations about the weather. I mean, seriously, guys, if I have to talk about the weather again, I'm gonna snap.
I think tomorrow's supposed to be a little nicer.
It's cold, we get it. So yeah, I think that there is great opportunities for us to acknowledge that not everything is fine, but we get to be all right with it, you know?
Okay, so your first year in business, you started here and you attempted to host a workshop.
Yeah.
How'd that go?
Awesome blossom. So I opened the business officially December 14th, and I say, okay, I'm gonna do a workshop. It's gonna be January 31st, and I don't know how the hell that's gonna happen. And I'm gonna charge for this. Okay, so within that period of time, I was already promoting somewhat on Facebook, and again, the importance of networking. And how many of you are FemCity members? My girls. So Emily Steele had just gotten the leadership of FemCity, and she had sold me a pair of beads on Facebook. And
that's how you met?
That's how we met, on a Facebook group. She sold me a pair of headphones, and we stayed friends on Facebook, and she reached out to me. She's like, hey, I see you're doing things. You want to do things with FemCity? We have an event. Come and talk. So that was my first speaking event, was January 18th, and my event was January 31st. And just by showing up there, I sold out. It was done. I had 20 people coming through the door of my event. It was a goal-setting event. It was pretty cool. And I would say that whatever success I've had in my business is 100% dependent on my network.
So talk a little bit about networking. What FemCity has done for you, what your connections in other areas of the community have done for you, and how that has impacted your business?
Networking was something that I used to hate. Again, the Grinch. So the whole idea of networking made my skin crawl until I realized that I either started networking or left the country. Those were my options at that point. So when I started networking, the first thing that came to my mind is, okay, so what am I doing this for? First, survival. It was emotionally, I needed to be with people that were like-minded. Second, business. So for me, it was all about intentionality, not going to every event to see every people. I do not go to happy hour events. What for? I mean, you're there to hang out, not to do business. If I'm going to an event for the sake of my business, then I need to know, who am I going to meet? Who do I want to meet? To make sure that I'm choosing the events that are right for my business, that I'm choosing the groups that are right for my business. I used to be a member of a chamber here in town. You know, you go crazy when you start a business and you start spending money, sure. And I never made one of those events. Why? Because I work with women, a female entrepreneur mostly. So if there are other events, if there's other groups that are niche to that particular group of people, why would I go anywhere else? Rather, I invested myself in this group. So I'm an ambassador with FemCity. I work with the Iowa Center as a volunteer, leading some of their classes or their groups. I also have a dream of starting a nonprofit in the DR for girls. So I started working with Children and Family Urban Movement to learn what that looks like, and I work with their girls program. So it's pretty much networking for me. The word that makes it work is intentionality, you know, knowing what you're there for and knowing what you have to offer. Because at the end of the day, it's about what you give and how you can help people and how you can connect others. Connecting people in these groups has been one of my greatest joys. That's why I'm one of the ambassadors in FemCity, sending emails. You should meet this person, and this person is doing this. What do you have to give? And a lot of people, my experience has been, when I talk about networking, is that they really don't think that they have a lot to offer. If you're alive, you have something to offer. If you know people, you have something to offer. You just have to be willing to pay attention. You just have to be willing to listen actively to a person and know what is it that they need and want, so that you can then come up with ideas. And if you can't help them, you know who can, right? And the third part of it, so the first thing is intentionality. The second thing is give to give, not give to get. And the third thing for me has been asking. Because even if you're giving to give, knowing what you need is important, so that you can tell another person, hey, so this is what I've been doing lately. If you think about any way in which in which you can get involved, or in which you can help me, or whatever, however that ask looks for you, you know?
Was that hard for you at first to
Oh,
ask?
hell yeah. Mm-hmm. Oh my God. It was, yeah, it started happening when people that were really into give to give, because this is a concept that I learned here, started asking me, so what can I do for you? And I would be like,
nothing, it's fine.
We're all cool. I mean, business is going great, and here I am looking at my bank account like, what? So, yeah. And I think that those two questions go hand in hand. What can I do for you? And how can you help me, you know? Because at the end, there's nothing that's completely selfless. We are not completely selfless human beings. Service is selfish because you get a high out of it. So owning that and just, you know, counting on the ripple effect, it matters. How I've affected people and how people have affected me here in Des Moines is, again, the basis of my business.
Well, you talked about how your mission when you first started coaching, and how that's changed to what it is today. So talk a little bit about that sort of evolution of your business, and maybe how some of these networks and connections you've made in town ultimately led to it.
So how my mission or vision for my business changed is as I got to know myself a lot better. I got to know who I could help and what I could help people with, then things start shifting. So at first, my wording was on confidence and, self-leadership and all this wonderful thing. So I would get people that I could not help. I would literally get clients that I could not help for the life of me, because they would come to these sessions wanting to be like me, because that was my wording. You get confidence, feel free in your own skin and all that. I never learned how to do this. These were the gifts that my mom and my dad gave me. They made me confident, pretty much. I was blessed that way. I can help women like me that struggle with the same things that I've struggled with, because I've had to learn to get out of my own way. So rather than helping women feel more confident and empowered, I help empowered women that want to be more confident in their vulnerability and want to be more confident in showing up for themselves and showing up for others, and owning their feelings. So that shifted a lot in my approach. It shifted a lot in my talks. I have a community of almost 500 women on Facebook, and I go out there and just share myself and share the things that I've been learning, and it's a very gift to give space. And it's been about that. It's been about, taking what works for you, making it work for you. And if there's something that doesn't work, then don't take it. There's no need to sit and judge somebody for what they're doing when you're not doing something or anything. So
what about today? Two years and like a week. So
Oh
I'm
my
clapping
God.
for that. That's awesome. So what's your favorite thing about your business today?
my clients. Oh my God, these women are so badass. It's ridiculous. I don't do anything. I mean, when people ask me like, what's coaching? We are very nosy people that are cool cheerleaders and that have studied a lot and might have things to share. But at the end, my client's decision to get the life that they want is what makes the difference. So having a client that, I remember my favorite client this year set a goal when we started the program. And she was single, she needed a new job, she was very miserable with herself and her personality. She was very much a Grinch like myself. And I remember that on our last session, her news were, I got the job that I wanted and I have a boyfriend. And I've been holding back on the boyfriend thing because I didn't know if it would it's solid today. and that was the last session, and I cried because I was so in awe of somebody that had taken 6 months and really done the work. Because I've been working on this crap for 6 years. It's not been overnight. I resisted it for a hot minute. So being able to witness people that, I remember I had a client that on our second session, she just looked like a different human being. On our first session, I was like, can I just give you feedback? She was like, yeah, you look miserable. And you're choosing to be miserable right now. You're choosing to sit with the unhappiness. And the next time we saw each other, she was wearing makeup, flashy colors, did her hair. And I was like, who the hell are you? It's like, it was true. Somebody took a picture of me this week and I saw it. I was like, oh my God. So my clients are my favorite thing, getting to know these women and seeing them grow, because it allows me to grow. Like I cannot let go of myself and my personal growth if I'm doing this.
Right.
It would be hypocritical, not living in integrity. So, yeah.
Okay, so now if you look 5 years out, do you have visions?
Yes, I have a big vision, and it's a bold one. So there's two. One is a nonprofit in the Dominican Republic. So if some of you might not know the Dominican Republic, it is an island in the Caribbean. It's half of an island in the Caribbean. And my country is very poor and is very chauvinistic. And historically, we're at least 30 years behind the US in the way we treat women and the way girls are raised. So I have a vision for a nonprofit in the DR that focuses in English education, business education, and sexual education for young women. And that even has its own evolution that I'm really excited about. But then I also want to have a self-leadership academy here in Des Moines. And that's also in 5 years as I grow, and I evolve. I want to have a center that provides people what I was once provided when I was 24 years old, which is a system of experiential leadership that has existed for 60 years. And there's still not an academy or a center here in Iowa. There's one in Ohio, there's one in California, there's like 5 in New York. So that's something that I really want to bring here.
So when you talk about all these different things that you've got going on, you're still fairly new to the States.
Yeah.
You've got big ideas on where you want to take things. What do you do in your personal life, and who are some of the people that you lean on to just stay calm and centered and sane?
Well, one of them is here, Sally Cooper, right there.
Hello.
In the back.
February 1st, Friday speaker.
There you go. Sally is one of my favorite people here in town. She's a wonderful, wonderful professional. I mean, she's been in business for 25 years. And just sitting with her and brainstorming and just about life and business has been great for my business growth. One of my coaches, both of my coaches are not here in Iowa, but having a financial coach and having a business coach has really made a difference for me. And even my physical coach, which is also a member of the Iowa Center, which is Medi Paulus, she's the owner of CrossFit Akiso. She keeps me intact in a way. Like going to her venue and what she has created in her community fills my cup. So finding women that are not perfect and that are doing the things and that are learning, because at the end of the day, what I get to tell my clients is, it's like, yeah, we're all in this together. I mean, I can't say that I don't make mistakes. God, I wish. But yeah, there's a strong community of women here that have already blazed a trail in Des Moines, and finding them and picking their brains has been quite a blessing.
So time goes fast, but I want to ask 2 things. I want to know, in your mind, what is the best decision you've made professionally since you've been here, and the worst decision that others might be able to learn from?
Ay, Dios mío. Okay. Give me a second for this one. I'll start with the worst, let's start with the low, because that's fresher in our brain, right? I would say that it has to do with finances. So I made an investment in a program to advance my business that is great and could have worked, but at the moment in which I made the investment, I was not emotionally prepared to do the work. And this happens in coaching. I was going through an emotional phase in my life in which I did not take advantage 100% of all this money that I was putting in. So I would say that the lesson out of that was check in with yourself. And again, perfectionism can take the best out of you, can get the best out of you. So that was my perfection itself. That was avoidance. That was, I'm not gonna work on this thing that's imploding in my personal life. I'm just gonna, spend this money and try to focus on this thing when in reality you're not, you're gonna half-ass it. So check in with yourself, and also check in with the people around you that are there to hold you accountable. That's super important to me. So yeah, it wasn't a bad investment. I was not invested. So that was a mistake. Mm-hmm. Now the best decision that I've made in business, again, joining FemCity, coming to the Iowa Center, and being invested in it, not half-assing my connections, being genuine in my efforts to help people. That has been my best investment here. And continuing to build on that, best decision ever.
What do you think you've learned about yourself in the couple years that you've been here?
Well, first of all, I am a great idea starter. I love ideas. I love brainstorming. It's one of my favorite things I've ever done. And I realized that I hadn't done enough of that. So as part of my coaching, when I work with entrepreneurs, we do a lot of brainstorming, and it's super fun. So I learned that. I reinforced my knowledge about myself that I have zero attention to detail. And acknowledging that has allowed me to free up a lot of the stress and anxiety that I've had because I've been able to outsource things that require attention to detail that I have none of. You will never see me on my phone uploading anything to social media because that requires grammar. And I don't necessarily have the skill to sit down and reread what I wrote. Have no intention to do that. So I outsourced my social media. I write my content, but they're in charge of figuring that out, see how it looks, put it out there. So yeah, and also I think that I learned that I can trust people. And trusting people comes from trusting yourself. When you don't trust yourself, you are always anxious about that whole idea of outsourcing or delegating. Because yeah, I mean, it comes from within. I will never trust somebody to do something if I don't trust myself to let go. If I don't trust myself with having the good judgment of picking the right person. And if I don't trust myself to bounce back if I make that mistake, because it's a mistake that we're all gonna make, you know? So yeah.
So if you look back to your time here, if you could do something all over again, is there anything that you would do differently?
Oh, hell yeah, and this is a business, is important. Do not become an S-corp too soon. Jesus Christ, the whole paying payroll is a pain in the butt if you are not ready. So even though that was not a mistake because I was able to handle it at the beginning, I would say I would have gotten financial education before I started because it's not a strong suit of mine. My parents never gave me financial education. And I think that a lot of people are blessed, but a lot of people are not with that. So yeah, just get the numbers thing. I would have gotten the numbers things figured out way earlier. For sure.
Not alone there, I don't think.
No. No.
Well, we want to allow time for questions, but there was one other thing that you mentioned to me when we were chatting a couple weeks ago, and it might just be a nice note to end on, especially in your line of work. Giving yourself that talk of life just happens. Fail, move on. And then you said if I did something wrong, that's not necessarily the same as doing something bad.
Yeah, or being bad. For me, it has been the big difference of making a mistake doesn't mean that I'm a bad person or that I'm a dumbass or that I'm a failure. That has been reminding myself this when things are going south and I think that it's the basis of my coaching practice. It's very different to think to say I did something bad to I am bad. So acknowledging that what I do is not a direct reflection of who I am, but rather where I am. And understanding that everything is a stepping stone and everything I do gives me the opportunity to learn and grow, and I get to make that decision to see everything that happens and everything that happens that I make happen in my life as a lesson. I wrote something in the group recently that it's sometimes the decisions we make are not as important as the fact that we get to make them. We are so focused on making the right decision that we let the opportunity pass. And we are just settling with whatever consequences of non-actions we have. So being proactive, making choices, making decisions, regardless of how hard it is, I heard one of my coaches likes to say that money loves speed. Money loves momentum. So making those decisions rather than paralyzing and working on your mindset so that you don't live in analysis paralysis all your life is super important.
Well, honestly, first of all, you haven't been here 3 years yet, right? That'll come after
March.
the turn of the calendar year.
Yep.
And you have almost been in business for 2 full years as someone brand new to the culture, to our society, to the state of Iowa. So I think we should give Annie a round of applause. And we would love to take some questions.
I'm going to have you ask him in the mic, too, so we can catch it on the
great.
recording.
Why Iowa? From New York, why Iowa?
So I went to New York to school and then went to Santo Domingo. So I was born and raised in the DR, and I went to school. And I came here like most people from the Caribbean end up in Iowa. There's only 2 reasons: work or a spouse. Mine was a second. Yep. Any other questions?
I got like 6 of them.
Go for it.
What are you reading?
What I'm reading right now, Becoming by Michelle Obama.
Is it good? Have you gotten through it yet, or you just started it?
It's 19 hours. I'm listening to it.
Okay.
Trust me. It's long. What I've recently read that was really productive in business was Daring to Lead by Brene Brown. It's wonderful, wonderful book. And if you've never read any of her work, you just need to read this one because she's very good at condensing her information and just adding it up. Yeah, Brene Brown has definitely been a person. I remember that my journey with vulnerability started when one of my teammates showed me her talk, and it's like, here, can you just tattoo this on your forehead? Watch it every day. Go be vulnerable. So she's definitely a great resource for me. Yeah.
What about the 4 agreements? That was something that you said has had a big impact on you.
4 agreements is the easiest, fastest way to start getting your personal development on. Is a short book. It's written in the form of a fable. If anybody here is a fan of Tom Brady, that's his favorite book. And yeah, that book, and it has a few iterations. Like there's one that's like the 5th agreement. There's another book that he's written with his son. So the 4 agreements is a great book because it just 4 simple rules of being a decent human and loving yourself. And I'm just gonna go through them real quick. The first one is be impeccable with your word, meaning watch what you say, make sure it's what you mean. The second one is don't take anything personal, and that has been like mine. I've owned it, I love it. Not taking anything personal because it's not about you, really. Never assume, so get curious and be generous with people's intentions. And give your 100. So it's not the way it's read, but pretty much the way I see it is give your 100% of the time, whatever that 100% is. Because my 100 today is not going to be my 100 tomorrow. So being generous with yourself there.
Hi, Annie. My name is Jane, and I just recently transferred back home here to Des Moines from South Florida, where there is a very strong Dominican presence. So
yeah, the driving in Florida just tells me that. I drove there. I was like, are they all Dominican? It's insane.
well, it was very nice to hear your accent. I actually kind of miss it because one of my girlfriends there, who is also a female entrepreneur, is from the DR.
Yes, girlfriend.
Yep. So in particular, you mentioned you have an objective of wanting to start a group for young females. And what I would like to do at your convenience is connect you and Maria Jacobo in South Florida. She has a lot of connections in the DR. And she's also connected to a lot of other people, which I'll share with you at that time, to maybe see if that's an opportunity to kind of kickstart that for you.
Yeah, Jane.
Yes. Like it.
This is what it's all about. Tell your dreams and goals so that people can listen and help. Thank you, Jane.
Iowa.
Yes.
Okay.
Questions? Otherwise, because I saw a show of FemCity hands here, do you want to educate the group a little bit on
what's FemCity? Oh, hell yeah.
Yes.
Okay. So FemCity is a national organization, and it has its chapter here in Des Moines, which is the fastest growing chapter in the U.S. right now. I'm really proud of being part of this. We have over 200 business members, and I think about 250 community members. And what we do is that we monthly get together in several events, and we just network with intentionality and positivity. I mean, one of the things that I love about FemCity the most is that there's no competition, and it's something that I really believe in. There's so many coaches. And for me, it's just awesome to have a bunch of people to refer clients to, because I am not everyone's coach. Just as Whitney Warren, which I think has spoken at First Friday, is not everyone's photographer. And so it is a great place to go fill your cup. We do First Fridays. Coffee Connections is the first Friday of every month. We grab coffee. It's completely free. Just have to find our Facebook group or find the website, which is FemCityDesMoines.com. The Facebook group is the same, and you will see the event there. And again, completely for free. Just have to register because they sold out fast. Then we also have another event a month that is either a luncheon or an after hours, it's an around town social, in which luncheons are usually lunch and learns, and around town socials are kind of more of a networking, fun. If you like your beer, that's where you go. Type of thing. But we do a lot of awesome events recently. Christina was a very big part of it. We did Flourish, which was a crowdsourcing event in which we raised up to $2,000. So we raised $2,000 for a winner, which was it was a contest. You put out your idea, you told us what your business was about, you pitched it to the crowd, and you won based on popular vote. And you got
$2,000.
You got $2,000 to put towards your business. So we really invested in helping the female entrepreneurs grow. We're really invested in allowing Des Moines to grow with us. So I am really passionate about FemCity's mission, and if any of you is more curious about it, let me know.
So we will take a couple minutes. I do know we have like 60-ish college students heading in here around 1:30, so they will win, you guys. They will take over and win.
Yes.
But take a couple minutes, come introduce yourself to Annie if you have questions about the Iowa Center or more about the partnership. And so amazing to see you all.
Yeah. Feel free to hang out and network. We've got plenty of room out here as well, so we can
Thank you,
reset the room. But
everyone.
feel free to hang out with us. Thanks, guys.